There is this. Like, think about it. He moves into a neighborhood. He lives with a guy, his thrall. It's two dudes who live together, right? For real. Two dudes who live together, and then there's this young boy like watching him with these women, and he's seen an aspect of himself, this double life that he leads, that he has to in order to survive. But Charlie knows his secret. He's gonna out him. The terror, like, what do you do with that? And I'm pretty convinced all of that stuff is in there knowingly, that for all the we drape straight sexuality over it, so it plays well to the target audience, but really at the heart of it, this is about a closeted man being outed.
Well, I think there is that scene when he gets stabbed with the pencil, and there is like the erotic. It's a pretty erotic scene when he's going back and getting his wound dressed by the guy's head being surprisingly close to his crotch. Tender. And he's also in the same window knowing that Brewster is watching him again, right? Yep. So it's a mirror of the scene that was very sexual that happened with the prostitute previously. And so there is some homoerotic imagery. And also, I mean, just the fact like the whole goal is to penetrate these guys with stakes. Everybody's just obsessed with penetrating vampires in this movie. Like the primary goal is to penetrate the vampire. Maybe there is.
I don't know. Maybe I have just a mind that goes there. But for me,
I think what's interesting about vampires and what was interesting about The Hunger, but the common theme of vampires is that if you live long enough, you will eventually experiment with the breadth of human experience.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
These are people who are vastly more wise than the average human because they've been alive for centuries. And the implication is always kind of pansexuality for vampires. So I don't know if it's necessary. Like, there are, I think, gay undertones to this movie 100%. But I think it's that vampires explore every facet of sexuality, not necessarily that they are straight or gay. They are neither, right? They are just pansexual.
Yeah. Well, that's also another thing. I mean, like I've talked about this on other content that I've done, but sort of like, and it's really hard for people to grasp. But there was a big period in the 80s where, we've had years and years of like homophobia and obviously the gay rights movement to get equal standing with heterosexuals in society, and Clause 28 in the UK and all of that stuff. But what's interesting is there's a period, kind of as we're coming out of the AIDS crisis, where bisexuality is the real taboo. Everybody hated the bis because the narrative in the mainstream media, who covered the AIDS crisis, so shockingly at the time, they were like, look, this is a disease that affects gay people disproportionately. It won't get you if you're straight. And then what? Well, the bisexuals are doing both. They're killing us. There was literal bisexual fear. There was hysteria about bisexual people, and I remember it very vividly growing up. That it was like you used to hear bigots say things like, well, at least the gays stick to their own. You would hear these outrageous sentiments. And so there is another reading, where you can look at this and say, what he's doing is essentially this. Again, he's a bisexual. He's sort of above it. He can seduce women. He lives with a man. He has a very tender, loving relationship with his thrall, who attends to all of his needs. He's aristocratic. He's sophisticated. He has tasted the finer things in life and wants to partake of all of them. So, I mean, look, there's multiple ways to read this. The best probably way to frame it is it's just a meditation on sexuality as a broad concept and all the different variations thereof. But I mean, for sure, I think it's a super interesting film just for that alone. Like it's really, really stark that clearly there is that this is meant to be there. It's not an accident.
Yeah, I think where it's on its face, this movie is one thing, but the more you think about it and the more you dive into it, it really reveals pretty significant depths in terms of cultural commentary and human psychology, which is really surprising because if you just watch it at face value, you would not assume that it does that.
See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, you know, be a pleb and don't.